This is Sheila Corona. Welcome to my channel. We're picking right up in the Handbook of the New Paradigm, Handbook for the New Paradigm on session number 4, and we'll see how far we get, shall we? So, fear in the heart puts a damper on the appreciation of the wonderful gift of life. It also hardens the belief of separation and causes oh, wow. I had to take a really deep breath there. I'm going to start this again because I think I need to pay special attention to this. Fear in the heart puts a damper on the appreciation of the wonderful gift of life. It also hardens the belief of separation and causes those wrapped up in it to become deadened and wooden in their ability to perceive changes going on around them. It is like a cloak being wrapped around the awareness. In this way, or I would say a veil perhaps, in this way, the darkness wraps its insidious plans of subjugation and annihilation around your fellow earth beings. Now begins in earnest the movement of the light to bring an end to this situation. As with all things, it begins with the process of thought and desire to bring it to an end. In this case, the subtle movement the subtle, modest beginning will go unnoticed. The opposing forces are planting their seeds of perceived invincibility everywhere. And tell me that hasn't ramped up. If this were real, they would not need to do so at the level of a psychological campaign. Remember that humanity now numbers in the billions. That is an overwhelming number in itself. These souls that are volunteering to be here for the benefit of this planet, and these beings have incarnated here for the purpose of experiencing the next rising, or at the least to assure its success. I'm very clear that's what I'm here to do. I don't know what all that encompasses, but that's okay. I'm being shown as I go. They shall not go unrewarded. Remember that this is a play. It is difficult to get this understanding across, but in a play, all you have to do is to change the lines to change the scope of the play. Wow. Okay, this is very apropos for me because just this morning I realized heavily why it is that I sing and dance every morning. It is for what it does to me physically is, and I feel like this right here is exactly what this means. It is difficult to remember that this is a play. It is difficult to get this understanding across, but in a play, all you have to do is to change the lines to change the scope of the play. Well, you are a fragment of the whole of creation and can begin changing the lines of the play. This is an oversimplification. Is this an oversimplification of this situation? It would appear so from your perspective, but indeed it is as simple as that. This project from your perspective, nope, sorry. It would appear so from your perspective. I'm having trouble with my eyes recently. I've noticed that this half of my maybe it's just the glasses. I need to go and have them adjusted. My ear is way lower on one side and it causes an issue. Okay. You are a fragment of the whole of creation and can begin changing the lines of the play. Is this an oversimplification of this situation? It would appear so from your perspective, but indeed it is as simple as that. This project involves the formation of the group entity that can change the lines or add a new character, however you want to visualize the process. Remember, a visualization involves pictures, words that you use in your contacts with those who might become the critical parents of this entity will respond to that which stirs their imagination and their emotions. Learn from your successful political elections, which appeal to emotion before logic. What works for this instrument of the opposition with the people can work for you also. Well, now keep in mind, for me, this book was written in 2018, and I feel that one's authenticity and seeking, when one carries that in their field, carries an awful lot of exponential weight. The logical approach brings lots of rhetoric, but it is that which brings visualization and emotion that incites action. That is why that appeal is made that way. I do know that is so true. Triggering traumas is how that's done, and that's done constantly. Back to the book. Sorry, those were my words. What is wanted here is action, not reaction. The resort to the use of arms against the plan for overwhelming mankind is doomed from the start. Yet the keeping of their guns by the citizens of this country means that their freedom is not yet gone. When those are taken, then you will see a real overwhelming realization among your people of the gravity of what surrounds them. Thus, the timing is again stressed. We do not mean to belabor this, but there are windows of opportunity that must be used for our advantage, for these offer the greater chance of success with the least amount of suffering for the greatest number. Insofar as grieving in regard to those that are suffering, let me assure you that the number of souls incarnating on this planet increases the difficulty of their plans. Note that I avoid using certain names, and you would be wise to do that also. After all, within your circle, the exact identity of these forces can be assumed as known. Their role is well known to them before they incarnate. They don't remember it now, of course, but they come to assure the success of the process of our mission. I feel that they are not alone in that. That's my own feeling, not the book. I feel that so on in that balance of the scale, correct? You feel? Back to the book now. Does that assure you of the importance of the earth in the total scheme of the grand picture? I would think so. In the initial meetings of the small groups, no one visualization is likely to appeal to all. So one suggestion shall be given as guidance. Ask, and it shall be given. That is in quotes. A composite will emerge that will provide the appeal when participation reaches a critical stage. This diversity will aid in the masking of the process. You are well connected, so do not be concerned about this aspect. Use the visualization of dominoes standing on end and arranged in a pattern so that when one is made to fall, all follow in rapid progression. It has great application to our meaning and brings an unidentifying tie to their planned process. That's the end of number 4. And before I begin number 5, I would like to share that as this was recorded in 2018, I see where this process has been taking place, even with those who are unaware within their upfront and close consciousness that this wider, larger portion of themselves is just moving in ways that is in line with what the larger portion is here to do. And if one would say, oh, wow, you're on a mission, they may or may not really understand it. And there's really no need or reason to necessarily. Lots of assumptions are always made. So back to the book now, we begin on session number 5 here. It is resistance to recognizing the situation and more resistance to being responsible for the situation of changing it, as well as the induced feeling of overwhelm that blocks the participation of the majority. Yeah, I heard again in my head just now, you can't fight City Hall kind of attitudes, right? The willingness to be responsible for personal conduct and to change the focus of perception is buried within the busy, frantic schedules of daily existence. Boy, isn't that so. Individuals find solace in their excuses for not comforting the growing signs of coming oppression. Confronting, not comforting. Individuals find solace in their excuses for not confronting the growing signs of coming oppression. Breaking down this line of resistance and drawing as many of these into the new planned pattern of life remains the goal. Those of the dark plan have set their forces to overwhelm any human beings with plans to resist and have preconceived plans ready to move toward the crushing of resistance. I said that myself back in 2019, 2020. I felt that heavily then, like the end of 2018, actually, after my involvement in Knoxville. However, back to the book, however, there are none for the coming of a new vision. This leaves that opening available to us, in fact, the ideal opening. Our plan is not to fix the old, but to create the new. Oh, my word, yes, 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 yes. That's the only way forward. There will always be the repetition of certain ingrained habitual thoughts, hopefully not to the point of nausea. Oh my, that's huge, given what I know about folks that are maybe not thinking their highest thoughts lately. Interesting, including myself. The skill of speaking, indeed, even thinking discreetly on the subject of those with plans to the contrary of the will of creation will aid in helping to bring that style of referring to them into usage. The more variety in this application of presenting the subject being discussed, the better. It is easy for focused individuals to, quote, get right to the point, but this will not serve in the long run. Oh, isn't that true? Woohoo! Okay, that's all about, censorship for me. I see that's what they're speaking on there. It might be appropriate to point out, well, not just, okay, wait a minute, I'm asked to stop here. This is not the book, this is me in reference to what I just said. When I feel this is referring to individuals who are not able to hear things, right? And those of well, I'll just keep it right here. Myself, who can get right to the point and point stuff out. If they can't hear it, that's not. I just point out things people say. Oh, really? How is that so? Because there's so many assumptions made, and people don't even realize they're making assumptions, right? I mean, that's the way it feels to me. But at any rate, back to the book now. It might be appropriate to point out that a linear progression within the scope of this project will not always be apparent. I think that's true too. Divine order is, quote, the order of the day. And divine order does not follow man's idea of sequence at all. That's right. Everybody keeps trying to put persona on source. And I'm sorry, that what, huh? Why? You have to set up certain unspoken subconscious rules to give, quote, sequential order to your experience. The forces of God do not have to follow sequence to have organization. Therefore, it is important that once the process is initiated to a critical point, then you must trust in its completion of itself without the ego control so familiar to each of you. This is imperative lest you monkey wrench your own dream. Whew, okay. Yeah, our cooperative effort, and it is that, must begin, continue, and end with focus on a completed goal. It is the composite of dreams of what a utopian world would be like, one that each would truly like to experience, that will bring this to pass. This is the opposite of the resistance that is expected. How interesting. I've never read this book, and I always have felt that we create our own reality as we move. And here they are, this group of benevolent beings telling us the exact same thing. How much time do each of you spend in this, quote, daydreaming process? Survival daydreams are more than the norm in the group that we are depending upon for this formative process. Granted, such a thing as easy earth compatible energy sources are a part of that dream, for luxuries of easy living are not appealing. Wait a minute. Yeah, for luxuries of easy living are not appealing sacrifices for freedom from oppression. This is what is automatically supposed will be the cost of such change. Would a new paradigm of experience be without comforts? Different comforts, probably, but I doubt anyone will feel any regrets for having given up the present situation. This again is the, quote, resist or be shoved backwards thought process that must be abandoned. That you want what will make your experience even better is a given, and it should be assumed. It must also be assumed there may be a short period necessary to endure in order for this change to happen, but it can be shorter than you might imagine. When this pivotal project is accomplished, our help is not only allowed, it is mandated. It is the beginning, quote, think tank discussions that will bring about the beginning of the change of expectation to an ever expanding group. And now I know why they keep trying to get us off the internet. Because free and open conversation about things like this, yeah, I've always kind of known that. Think of a stone tossed into a pond. The ripples reach out to affect a greater and greater area. And now you know why I'm back again. We call it a critical point. You refer to it as the 100th monkey theory. That's in quotations. Think of the counter thought group as having to send the ripples in from the outside to the middle. Remember, they are creating what is not in accordance with the laws of God. Their concentration is toward containment, while your focus is rippling outward. Now, which one do you think works best? When these ripples meet, what happens? If you are using the same pond water, which one is likely to overwhelm the other? Especially if the stone that is dropped is becoming larger and larger in what might be interpreted to be slow motion. Remember, there are vibrational effects that are and will be brought in to being that cannot be observed by you. Each time the thought pattern is focused toward the goal, the more it becomes intensified. As it intensifies, it becomes more magnetic and attraction begins to build. You are not likely to surprise any of the contacts. What you are most likely to hear is that it has been in their thoughts already, but they just hadn't made the effort to follow through with its implications. The process will become appealing and challenging when you begin to dream of ways to use the mechanisms put in place for the use of those of opposite intentions. Doesn't that sound intriguing? Rather than to destroy and resist, it might be possible to use some of what they have in place for your own intentions. You have focusing powers that are capable of many things when there is a group participation, and a few innovations of your own can be added. Remember, the pipe that sends vibrations to the crops in the fields. Ever wonder what else it is capable of doing? You might be surprised. Even the sound embedded in Dan Carlson's music tapes for the growth of plants might be interesting in the presence of their focused vibrations. And in parentheses here, there is sonic boom. Just a thought or two about what you have already available. And I'm going to stop here because it seems like some of these are, we went from 4 and 5, and I'll pick right back up with 6. Till next time, be well.